Hi, I'm Thea Jirak. Welcome back to the Glory Be Block of the Month program. Today we're making Block 7. Block 7 is the sawtooth border that runs across the top and bottom of your quilt. Now remember, we've made blocks 1 through 6. We have the entire center of our quilt blocks made, but none of them put together yet, right? So to make Block 7, the sawtooth border can be made in a number of ways. My favorite way, and my favorite way to do this particular border style, is to make flying geese. And the easiest, fastest method is one that was devised by Eleanor Burns from Quilt in a Day. And she made a ruler that makes 3 by 6 finished geese and 1.5 by 3 inch finished geese. And this is the ruler that we're going to use to make our flying geese for our sawtooth border. You're going to look at your instructions from the pattern and cut your fabric so that the smaller of your fabric squares is either a blue for the Lexington or a green for the Lexington, or you want to look at the color kazoo pattern and pick your appropriate fabrics from that pattern. When we're done, our flying geese are going to look just like this, and we're going to have lots of them to put together for the top and bottom sawtooth border. Let's get started with making this block. First thing you're going to do is lay the smaller square on top of the bigger square, right sides together. Take your ruler, and we're going to match the ruler from point to point, making sure that the smaller points are also lined up. So when you look at this, what you see is the point of your bigger block, the point of your smaller block, the point of your smaller block, and the point of your bigger block. You take your pencil, and we're going to draw a line all the way through from one side to the other. When you do this, we're going to take it over to your sewing machine. I'm going to take mine to my sewing machine. And this is very similar to making half square triangles. We're going to add a step, and because we're using 2 different size squares, that's how we're able to get the flying geese. You sew a 1/4 inch on either side of the block, either side of the line, excuse me. And you want to make it a scant 1/4 inch, just like we've done on all of our half square triangles. When you're done with one side, you just turn it over. You sew a scant 1/4 inch on the other side of the line. Take it out of your machine, and we're going to cut our threads and keep our workspace clean. We'll cut this apart just as we've done with the half square triangles, and this is where the fun comes in. When we do our flying geese using Eleanor Burns's method, these 2 squares, the dark square and the lighter square, will give us 4 flying geese out of this color combination. Now we're going to press these open. What you'll notice is the darker fabric triangle is smaller than the larger fabric triangle. And before, when we put these together to make our 1/4 square triangles last month, we actually matched the seams up. When we make flying geese using Eleanor Burns's method, we're actually going to match up the edges of the fabric, not the seam. So what you'll notice, once these have been pressed open, is that there is a space between the seams of almost 1 inch, and we want that there. So you're going to leave that. And now, just as we did before with the 1/4 square triangles, we're going to once again draw a line and then pin our seams for safety so that it doesn't shift. This is just a way to make sure that they stay in the place that we want them. And we're going to sew, I'm going to put this in my machine, I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch on either side of the line. A scant 1/4 inch. When I get towards the middle, I just want to lift my fabric and make sure that my seam is still turned the correct direction underneath. Now I just turn it around, lift my presser foot, turn it around, and sew a scant 1/4 inch from the line I drew. And once again, you want to make sure that your seams don't turn. So I'm going to check underneath, just make sure. When I get to the end of this, take it out of my machine, cut my threads, take my pins out, and I'm going to cut between those last 2 seams that I sewed on the line that I drew. And now when I open this up, it's actually this really funny looking block. But what happens, if you can see this, what happens is I'm going to take my ruler What I want you to notice is this triangle right here matches up with the triangle that's right here of colored fabric. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm just going to line up those lines and match the point at the top and on the sides. When I do that, I can cut around the acrylic ruler. Now I'm going to turn my block because we never want to cut across ourselves. You always want to cut safely. I'm going to make sure those triangle lines are matched up again. And look what happens. There is my flying geese. And on the other side of this is another one. So I can take my ruler again, match it up, cut the side. This one doesn't have a whole lot to cut off the top. Then I'm going to turn it around. And I have my flying geese ready to put together into my quilt. You're going to do that with both the blue and the green and make enough sawtooth, make enough blocks to make your sawtooth border. We've now finished all of our blocks for month 7, the sawtooth border. And if you have any catching up to do on blocks from previous months, now's the time to do it. Next month, we're putting our quilt together and we're going to start adding borders. Happy quilting, and we'll see you next month.